This show is sponsored by my new business, MA Capital. I had success in my previous business acquiring companies before I exited earlier in the year. MA Capital is set up to support business owners on that journey, whether they want to sell now or they want to set up for a profitable exit later in the future. If this has piqued your interest and you'd like to work with me, head over to macapital.co.uk. Right, guys, welcome back to the Fast Pound, Slow Pound podcast. Today we've got on a very special guest. This year alone, he sourced 152 deals and bought 37 for himself. I'm going to use this podcast as a bit of a mentoring session for myself because I need to know how this guy's doing it. I think, was it 3 or 4 years ago, Chris, you come to see me at my office. I think you were still working at the time.
It was April to probably May time 2022. I came through to the office.
Guys, just a quick one. Over 75% of our listeners aren't subscribed. So if you are enjoying this, please show some support by liking, commenting or subscribing wherever you're watching the podcast. It'll allow us to keep getting on amazing guests and it's massively appreciated. Back to the show. And since then, you just went far past anything that I've done and 99% of the people in the industry have done as well. So you must be in the top 1%. So welcome to the podcast, mate. How's things?
It's good, thank you. How are you getting on?
Yeah, good, thanks.
Just been busy, mate, and cracking on. So I had a lot of completions in the last week. So I completed on a portfolio in Glasgow. And then I completed one yesterday in the North East. And then I've got another few. So I think I've agreed 37 this year, but not completed on yet. So it's like 23 after that yesterday. I've got another portfolio 8 and then I've got 6 singles. So I'm trying to get as many through before the end of the year as possible, just so I can keep the wheels turning, get them obviously renovated and cash flowing. So it's been busy, mate.
How do you cope with it all, like mentally? Because I know what it's like on a smaller scale, and it's like, whoa, this is a lot, you know. But you're doing a hell of a lot more. So how do you cope with it?
To be honest, I enjoy it. So like you said, I came to your office and I was still working a job at the time. So if I was still there now, I'd be just qualified in September. And it's like 44 grand a year. But what I say to my missus is, because she hates the fact that I'm not really as present, like she's very supportive of it all and a big driving force, but it's quite hard for her at times as well because I'm there but I'm not there. So sometimes she just maybe wants you to switch off. So I think that's one of the main things that I've managed to do is just, like you said, I kind of messaged you as soon as I'd done my property education course. So I had a bit of experience in buy-to-let, but I just decided to get on folks' radars. It looked like they were doing something in the North East rather than maybe hanging about with folk that are at the same stage I'm at. So you get people that will do these things and then they'll all hang about with the people that are all at the same stage, whereas I had a bit of experience and I wanted to be up here. So I'm like, right, let's get in these folks' radar and be a bit of a pest with some of them. Like, I've got one guy that backs me on deals financially and he said, I thought you were a lunatic because like I didn't even know you and you were sending me like 10 messages. But I suppose like you're just putting yourself out there and you're attracting the right sort of people, and then like you're almost known as a property guy now, which is what I wanted at the start. So people will come to you when they've got houses. So like I agreed a deal a few weeks ago. The lead came on a Friday night. They wanted 32 for it, and I says, look, I'll give you 25 right now without even seeing it, no questions asked, because it's a 2-bed. So I knew in my head your max spend if it's structurally sound will be X, Y, and Z. So it worked, and then they turned around and says, look, we'll take 30. So I got a viewing in. 30 grand, spend 28 on it, revalue 80, 85. So it's just things like that. You need to act quick. You know yourself at times as well when deals come in. Like, I mean, some people joke my group's like a modern method auction now. So like I posted one yesterday morning at like 7:30 in the morning. By 7:32, someone had snapped it up. So I've managed to kind of build a good thing, but I think it's just being myself and putting myself out there. Like I'm sitting now with shorts and t-shirt on. And
I was hoping you were coming in. I've seen the Mario shirt. I was hoping you were coming with that.
I've toned it down a bit, so I've got a Super Nintendo World hoodie on the day. But I just think folk like that, if you yourself, like I've obviously got investors that have backed us. Like I've got guys over in Switzerland that give us money, and they exited a business for quite a good bit of money. It was like low 8 figures. And I was over pitching to them, and I'm wearing my Nike Tech fleece while I'm doing it, and they seem to enjoy that because obviously you've got the background, like you've got the accountancy background and stuff, and I worked for a big company, but I'm just being myself. So I think that's one of the main things that helps us, and then the work ethic as well. So obviously, like you said, it's nearly a deal every 2 days I'm on for the year. I've not got any staff or anything, which I was mentioning before we went. So
a deal every 2 days is nuts.
Aye, that's good. I mean, there's obviously, I think it's just under 200 properties within the 152 deals. So got a couple of blocks in there, some portfolios and things like that as well. But I just try and be kind of simple to deal with, and I try and, like, even if I agree something, like, there's deals I've agreed before and they've not been good deals in hindsight, but I won't try and turn back and renegotiate, or, like, I kind of shake hands on it and that's the deal. So I think that helps with agents, especially because you get a lot of folk that want to bypass agents and kind of go direct to the vendor, whereas I'm of the mindset of they're getting all the deals, so if you can work alongside them and make their life as easy as possible, then, like, why not? But then as well, like you said, I cold message you. I do that with loads of folk, and I'll try and meet with as many folk as I can, because we're talking again about another deal. You've got a guest coming on. I keep missing calls from him. I was meant to meet him, and then I've ended up buying a deal through his agency, through another sourcer. So, I mean, I think that helps as well if you're pretty game and easy to deal with. So not only am I sourcing deals like I'm buying, so it's good for investors because they can see, well, he's buying his own deals as well. And I've had instances, like I done one up in Chesterley Street a few months ago. The investor bought it on auction and then got put off because it was near a railway track, which I don't see as an issue. And he says, look, I don't want to go ahead with the deal. So he's already paid a fee and things like that. And I said, well, I'll get money for it and raise finance, and you pay for the name change. And I think some folk are kind of taken back by that, because you get sources that will say, if you don't buy it, I will and stuff. But I genuinely will. Like, I just think, while it's going well just now, you want to build a substantial portfolio, because you know this isn't going to. I'm not going to be able to continue like this for 20 years, because I'll have a heart attack and my missus will divorce us when we get married. So I'm just trying to make hay when the sun's shining, basically, and thankfully it's been going well. But I mean, at times as well, it's very stressful, because you're dealing with different investors, you're dealing with different vendors, you've got different types of lending going through as well. Like that portfolio that I completed on, it's worth 1.1 million, and I got it for 668. But because of the discount involved, I had to take indemnity policies because they thought there was something wrong with the sale, like a dodgy sale. Then I've got a floating charge in my company for a mortgage I've signed for one of my first ones, so then I had to get them to agree to ranking agreements and stuff. So it's pretty complex funding that you're doing. But I think it's good to showcase. Like, I'm always putting on my Instagram, here's the good stuff, here's the rubbish stuff as well that can happen day to day. And I think when you post the rubbish stuff, you actually get more back off it. Like, I had about 6 down values at the start of the year in a row for myself, and I posted about it, and then someone reached out to me after and says, like, I realised I wanted to work with you because you're actually posting real stuff, because you see all the stuff online that's all the fairy tale, but you know yourself, it's not easy, it's difficult at times. And although I'm doing the volume and it's going well, but I still think day to day, like, what am I doing? Because I'm constantly calling more on. Like, you're doing big deals, and then you're just thinking to yourself, like, I'm doing too much here, so you still get that imposter syndrome. But I just know that you're buying assets, you're accumulating assets, and you're going to be skint sometimes, but you'll make it work. It's not, I've been skint before where I've been paid and I've no money for the rest of the month. So I've had that feeling, whereas this is a different skint, so you're accumulating assets. Like, if you total up the gross development value on that, what I've bought this year, it's probably about 3.8 million. So it's like you've added nearly 4 million to your pension pot for the year.
It's not a bad year, is it?
It's not a bad year. And then the year before was like 1.8 or something like that. So there's been about 6 or 7 flips in there, so they're not all been held, but I just think it's good. You've obviously got that for the portfolio. My ultimate goal is to be debt free. I know some folk don't like that, and they'd rather be interest only and stuff, but good example of it is it gives you flexibility. So I've got a property in Murton down in Seaham, which is paid off, which is worth 85 grand. And on that portfolio I bought, one of them, turns out, it was a weed farm. So there was 8 of them tenanted. One of them wasn't given access. And we finally got access when we got them kicked out. And it turns out it'd been a weed farm. So I have to spend 30 odd grand on that, 40 grand. So I managed to get that for a private investor and just put a charge in my house. So people don't realise the flexibility it gives you if you've got properties that are paid off, because you can go to an investor and say, well, here's a charge on this, here's this. So I just think it'd be good. And then once it's fully paid off, if you've got a kind of 10, 15 million portfolio kicking you 10% a year, it's a decent income. But in the meantime, it is stress when you're paying some of them down, and some of them you're not seeing that instant reward from. But it's a 20-year game I'm trying to play. It's not a kind of short term, which unfortunately some folk try and doing this, and I think you don't last long if you've got that mentality as well.
You mentioned your missus there. Has she seen a big change in you since you've started this journey?
Aye, so she was like, I had a job at PwC, which is obviously like a big accounting firm. So she was really proud of that, and so was I, because it was a hard place to get into. So when I got the job, we'd done a thing in the first day, and it was like 100,000 people applied for this, but 1,000 got it. So you're literally in the top 1%. And plan was to work my way up to kind of director, partner and stuff like that, but I just didn't like it. It was a lot of politics. I'd been used to doing my own thing. I'm quite entrepreneurial. I'm obviously quite out there and a bit of a different personality to what they would probably normally get. So you've got these people from all over the world that have been to the top universities and stuff, and then you've got almost like a rogue in there who's well educated. So I've almost had two educations really. Like growing up in a rough area, you become street smart. But then also I decided to further my education in my mid-20s and the book smart there. So she was the main driving force behind moving. She didn't want to move up to Scotland where I was at. I didn't want to move to London because I had a decent lifestyle and I didn't want to give that up. So we decided on Newcastle. Well, it was originally Leeds, but the job was full at Leeds. So it was like there's one at Newcastle. She'd been at uni here. I had family here. So it was quite good, but I think the main change that she's seen is obviously like the people that I'm hanging about with, and like the other night I was at Newcastle Liverpool as a guest to a former player in Newcastle, and I'm helping source some properties and stuff like that as well, and it's just you're sitting like, how the hell's this happened? So she's really proud, and obviously she's been a driving force, because at the start when there was nothing happening at all, I was obviously like, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that, and like it wasn't quite happening, and she was still being supportive. But at the same time, like I'm putting more effort into property and my actual jobs down here, and I've not had any payoff yet. And then when it came to the time when I decided I wanted to go full time, I had like 7 illegals for investors. She just said go for it, and then I felt like the shackles had been off a wee bit. So that's probably when the biggest change happened, when I went from getting into work 56 hours a week, where they're kind of trying to tone you down and you're having to focus on that, to now having all my time to go and do what I want. So. And I work harder than I've ever had in any job now. I put probably double-digit days in, like 12, 13, 14 hours a day, every single day of the week. But I don't see it as work. I get to obviously speak to investors that are from cool backgrounds all over the world, from really cool professions as well. Like, managed to get a signed Wayne Rooney shirt for the office the other day, saw that, and some of the footballers I've got to go in the office. So it's pretty cool that you get to deal with these people on a day-to-day, and you're helping them like get properties, and you're kind of showing them how you can finance different things and how to structure things so they can then obviously long term they've got plans after retirement. So she saw a big change in us, but at times as well she probably wishes I was more present, but I'm trying to work on that, which is why I'm looking at getting staff and things. But it is hard as well because I enjoy it, so it's not like I'm hating it. I'm really enjoying what I'm doing, and then that really comes across probably with the investors as well, like your energy, I suppose. So, but aye, she's been a big driving force, and she showed a lot of belief in us when nothing was happening. And then what's happening now, she's saying kind of she believed it would always happen, because I was almost like delusional about it, but also the work I was putting in. So, but it's just good to kind of showcase some of the deals you're doing, how you're funding certain things. Like I used to just think you bought turnkeys and that was it. That's how I started, and I ran out of money pretty quickly. And you know yourself how hard it is to save for a deposit, whereas I'm now buying deals creatively with none of my own money, and investors are fronting the money and you're giving them a return, so it's good. And then obviously I've got a substantial portfolio now as well, which I'm still growing, so you can then start using your rents for that to take on bigger deals and service the bridges and stuff. So it's been going pretty well. And she's been a big driving force on it.
How long wasn't it happening for, you know?
So it was like April 22 is when I decided this is what I want to do. And then January 2023 is when I did my first deal. So, and then from within that year I did 75. So it took me 9 months to do one. I obviously had my own portfolio and stuff, and I bought one for myself, but actual doing one for an investor, it just wasn't happening for whatever reason. Like things were getting close and falling through, and then probably had a bit of a negative mindset towards it as well, because I was still working full time and so desperate to get out. You're almost playing the blame game sometimes, like he's this and they're that, and this investor's this and this lawyer's that. And then one of my friends said to me, like, you should maybe look more within yourself to see if there's anything you could have done. And this was like November time, and then I thought to myself, like, the new year's coming soon. I'll go to a smaller firm and tell them about the property stuff. So I'll say, look, this is what I've got going on, and it'll be all good. And then I had gardening leave in the full of January, so I just used that to gain momentum, and then I had a few deals in legals, and then I just thought to myself, like, that little comment kind of shifted the mindset a bit, and then I thought to myself, like, new year, new me and all that, you know what it's like. I'm sitting doing my resolutions for next year, still need to lose the gut. I've been saying that for about 5 years now. But that was a big change. And then when it actually worked, and I saw this actually works here. Like it's proven that it works, and it's not a scam. I had a lot of confidence. And now when I'm speaking to investors, it's like I almost don't care if they do or they don't. Like if they want to work with me or don't, because I've got enough there, repeat investors. And I mean, if I get a deal today, I could phone an investor if it hits a certain criteria, knowing they would buy that, because I've managed to build their relationships. And it probably comes across to the investor as well, because you get a lot of folk that are really desperate just to get that fee off them, and off you go, and maybe don't give them the right deals. And I sat with a guy last week, so he booked a call in, and then I met him face to face because he was in the northeast, and I said to him, look, you can pay up front if you want, or you can not pay up front, I'll treat you the same. And he says, no, like I'll pay up front. But he says, you're the only guy I've ever met I've had this feeling off. And then within a couple of weeks I've sent him about 4 or 5 deals as well. So that's a good thing, the deal flow. So there was another investor I met, he'd paid someone a bit up front, and in 2 or 3 months he's had like 5 deals. And I met him a week and a half ago, and he's had like 4 off me already. So he's just like, wow, it's big difference. But it's just through relationships with agents and stuff, and like I'm always keeping my finger on the pulse. So when I was on my way in today, I noticed a property I offered on October's been reduced. So I messaged an investor that I know is looking at the moment and said to him, look, I tried to buy this. I sent him a screenshot of me in October, and then I messaged the agent. So we'll wait to hear back in that. We've put our offer in, but I think there is a higher one in, so we'll see what that comes from. But it's just, you need to be on the ball and have local knowledge and stuff like that as well. I think that will come across to investors. You need to believe in your deals. Like, you need to have good deals. So
you be good at sales, do you reckon?
Probably. I used to be a holiday rep for Club 18 to 30, and I used to have some hardcore sales jobs, so door-to-door sales, like selling insurance, like business to customer, and then eventually went business to business for the Yellow Pages. So I did that, and that was pretty much cold calling. So you could have a book one week with 150 phone numbers in it and say get 2 sales out of that. But I really hated it at the time. But looking back now, it's probably given me the skills for this, because I don't see what I'm doing as sales. You're selling people investments that are making them money, so that's probably good as well. Like, I try not to come across sales, it's more consultative. So I mean, like, for example, there's a deal the other week I'd gave an investor, and it was in legals for quite some time, managed to get a reduction, and then I got it. The original investor was dicking about, and I didn't want him to get the deal now because it was a really good discount. And I said to him, like, I explained the deal to him, and it was like 60 grand to buy, 5 grand refurb, revalue it about 95. We've done one across the road at 95, which isn't on land reg yet. And he said, he's like, you could send me a deal and tell me it's the best thing ever, and I would be all over it. So I maybe must be decent at sales. But I don't see it. I just see it as like you're getting these discounts on the properties, you're building your portfolio, you're getting this cash flow on it, and yeah, the rates are higher just now, but when I was building my full portfolio in turkeys, it was like 2 or 3%. So I didn't know about any BRR or flips or anything like that at the time. So for me, I'm like, wow, like, this works at this. So when the rates go down, it will be better. But that's one of the reasons I want to be kind of debt-free in the portfolio as well. You don't want to be leveraged up at like a 7% rate, but I've built my kind of business and my portfolio mainly on high rates, so I think it's going to be bulletproof when it does come down. But I think you do need to be good with people. You need to know when to put your foot down with some investors as well, because some will try and run over the top of you, and sellers as well, and like lawyers and stuff. You need to kind of hang with the full process. So I think you do need good communication skills and good soft skills as well for investors, I think. When you think about it, sales is probably a big part of it, but I don't see what I'm doing as sales, so it probably comes across as well, because you see some that are proper salesy. Like, when I started, I had like the nice shirts on and stuff, and I was taking the nice videos, but I wasn't comfortable doing it. Whereas now I'll sit like this and sit and talk about, here's how I've got this deal, and I think it's just more relatable for people, and you'll attract the right people that you want. So if I'm just being myself, and like, someone will see that and they'll be like, I actually really like that. He's explaining things normally. He's not making it all like the jargon and stuff, and he's just dressed like me. So you're almost making some folk think, well, it's achievable for them as well, because a lot of folk think that they can't build a portfolio for whatever reason, but anybody could go out and do it. You just, obviously, the money helps, but you need to just be willing to do it as well, don't you?
Are you still sorts and turnkeys, or is it all BRR that you're doing?
I do turnkeys still as well. So turnkeys, just about anything really, apart from rent to rent or rent to social housing. I don't really.
Yeah, why don't you do that?
I just don't know. It's probably a personal preference, because I've always bought. So, like, what my kind of mindset is, like, for example, I've got 6 Airbnbs, so it's the winter just now. One of them's full, doing brilliant. The other one's like half full for the month. And then the other one's like 40-50% occupancy. So if I rented them, my rent would be, say, 700 to a grand a month, whereas my mortgage is between 2 and 600 a month. So I just think it's a lot less pressure. And if you build a full portfolio up, like for rent to rents or whatever, there's nothing to stop the landlord saying, right, I want the house back, or you're putting money into a landlord's pocket, and it's just the pressure of the rent, I think. So you obviously get your expected figures and stuff like that, but it doesn't work like that sometimes. So I would rather just have that like safety blanket, no one actually own these at the end of the day, and I'm trying to deleverage on them, so they're the ones I'm trying to attack first, maybe the Airbnb mortgages, to get the payments down. So because it's not guaranteed, that's probably what puts me off. So if I sold you a deal and it's £1,000 a month rent and the occupancy rate's, I don't know, expected to be 65, it's a lot of pressure, because if your break even point will be like 14 nights, whereas my Airbnbs can be 3 nights on some of mine on break even. So it's probably just for that. I'm not knocking it. I know some folk are very successful. I follow folk online as well. There's a lad down in like Whitehaven I follow, Leon Bartley or something his name is. He does like loads of rent to rents, but it's just not my thing. It's, I think, maybe because I've started off buying, but I'm not knocking it. I wouldn't do it personally, so I wouldn't want to put it on someone to do a rent to rent and then it doesn't work as well. I had one rent to rent deal in Gosforth which I'd done and it fell through, and I just took that as a sign.
Yeah.
The guy asked me for rent to rents and I messaged one of my mates that I trusted, Ross Orrick, and he brought the deal. And I didn't know how it all worked. I didn't know you need to move fast to get the contracts and stuff, and that fell through, and I just took it as a sign, like, right, you're not meant to do rent to rent. But I know obviously people do it and they do it very well, but it's just, I prefer owning the asset, to be honest. But it's personal preference for everyone, innit?
Who did you do your property education with?
So I done it in Scotland from a guy, Paul McFadden. So I'd bought properties through sourcers that had done his course, but like I said, I was pretty easy to source for because I was just wanting turnkeys and it was like 10% net yield. So I was getting really good cash flows and stuff like that. But I used a couple of sourcers and I just thought, these guys aren't the greatest. And then when I ran out of money and I moved down here, and I was one of my friends, Richard Dixon, so I'd gave him money during COVID for a fixed percent return. And I got speaking to him a lot more because I'd given him obviously the lump sum. So, and he was pushing me. He was like, "Why don't you do this? Like, you'd be really good at it." And I just thought, nah, I wanted like do my accountancy and stuff. But he's like, "You're looking at deals all the time and you're kind of stacking deals. Why don't you learn?" And then I asked Paul, I says, like, "Is it worthwhile doing your course?" And he says, "Go and book a call on my team." So it was like £5,000 plus flat at the time. And then when I went in and did it, it was a week-long course. You get access to the group and stuff. And then I was just like, in my head, I was like, right, I'm £6,000 down. How do I make it back here?
Yeah.
So, but obviously that £6,000 investment's changed my life, really. And I used to always be wary of spending money on things. Like I remember at the time I had a turnkey fall through at 50 grand. And it's a lot harder to get stuff at 50 grand now because the lenders are wanting stuff kind of 75 upwards. I had like 12 and a half sitting. I thought, I'm either going to blow this or I can do something worthwhile with it. So thankfully I chose to do that. It was like a week-long course. It was quite intense as well, and I had loads of different things that serviced accommodation, which wasn't even on my radar at the time. They spoke about and HMOs and BRRs and angel finance, raising investments. So it covered pretty much everything. And then after I did that, I was just like, right, I need, this is what I want to do. So that's I totally distracted from my work, and that's kind of down tools in my work a couple of months after, really. But it was a good course, and the investments obviously changed my life. Like I said, I was able to go full-time a year later. So within a year, I was pretty much full-time. But like I said, I'd not done a deal for 9 months. But I'd put the groundwork in those 9 months. So I was turning up, I was like driving to meet, like I drove through to Middlesbrough. It was a couple of round trip. I would go and meet folk, I'd be building the relationships and stuff. And I knew that was going to pay off. And then the deal happened, and then it's just like momentum. It's like a drug in it. You don't want to come down from it. So I just want to stay up here rather than crash down there. And then obviously just keep getting the deals going, and like you're just putting stuff out there. I've not got the biggest following online, but I've got a really engaged audience.
Yeah,
so like
that's what it's about, innit?
Aye. So like I put a thing in the other day about my Glasgow deal, and I put a thing on like, would you like to come see one of the houses on like a show round, and like 150 people said they would go. And I'm like, and then I've got 55 or 60 in the WhatsApp group, so we're going to have probably 50 people on a Sunday in Glasgow, in a 60 square metre flat, so that's going to be fun. But we've done the showround days down here and we've had 50, 60 people, and it's just the stuff you do off the back of it. Like, that's what I like, because they come down, it's easy to say one thing online and see it, but when they actually come down, they're like, wow, he's actually doing this and he's doing that. You build that trust, and then it's like, right, they'll maybe been in the deals group for a couple of months, and then they'll go, right, next one I'm ready to pull the trigger. Or if you speak at an event and stuff like that as well, like I did one in Scotland, and off the back of that I did a couple of deals again, but they're really solid deals for investors. So like, one was in Aberdeen, so this girl was looking at turnkey stuff. It's got a home report at 135, she's got it for 95, and it'll be £1,000 a month rent. So you've got your 40 grand day one equity there. So it's not like they're just jumping on and taking any deal. They've maybe been in a while and they're like, right, I'm ready to go for it now. Like, I've met him and I've looked up him online and he's actually doing what he says he is. And then they've got that trust and they just go for it. Thankfully, they choose me. And then I try and do repeat business as well. So if you came to me, I want you to buy 10, 15, 20, I want your mates to buy. So I'll make sure that I'll try and get the best deal possible, and try and make it a smooth process for you as well. So help you out with the brokers, help you out with the lawyers, manage the refurb for you, pass it on to agents and stuff like that as well when the time comes. So it's not just a case of buy the deal and you're off on your own. It's pretty much the full care package, I would say. It's,
Are you a part of any other networks? I'm sure I've seen you speak at other networks and things like that.
So I'm in Prosperity Network, which is Danny Inman, his name is. So he's down in Warrington. So I'd messaged him a few times, like on Instagram. I don't know how I came across him, but he'd always reply. And then I joined his group about 2.5 years ago. So you pay a monthly subscription for that. There's about 1,000 in there, and the networking days are really good and stuff like that as well. So again, it's just, these people are all doing deals in the network, and then you're meeting folk within the network doing deals with them. And I've been fortunate enough to speak at that. So it was like 240 people at it, and they're all active investors. So it's not like 240 people going to a course and they all want to get into sourcing. They're all like some of them are doing really large scale stuff. So it's good being in networks like that, and there's quite a few Northeast people in it and stuff like that as well. So I do enjoy being part of the networks, because you never know who's watching. So I post quite prolifically online as well. So I'll post what I've done the day before, and you'll just get people and they'll reach out and they'll be like, I've saw your stuff, like I'd like to work with you. And I've done quite a lot of deals again. Like I don't really see that as I'm down money on that. I enjoy being part of the network. They do calls weekly, they do networking events every quarter. If anything, I probably need to upgrade my package, because they do like mastermind days. So they might have like you in, like how to scale my lettings agency, how to do this, and then they'll have, maybe there's a guy that trades auction properties, so he's done one, and then it's all different types of speakers and it's all beneficial for your business. But like I said, I see them more as investments now, because you're part of a network now, and you never know who's in them, because they're like closed groups. So between the two groups I'm in, there's probably like 1,500 people.
Which one's better?
I like Prosperity. It's just the people in it are more active. They're all kind of, the networking events speak for themselves as well. So you've got 300 people, I think. He's changing the venue actually to some place in Manchester to fit more people. So I just like the fact it's kind of for the people. There's not really any idiots in the group. I'm probably the idiot. But it's people in the group. I like the fact that you can message Danny as well, and he's very responsive to you, and he's given us an opportunity as well to speak on some calls. So I've done like a deal diaries call where I've spoke about deals I've done. He's given us a platform as well to speak twice on an actual Prosperity Network call for the members, and then presenting as well. So, and he doesn't want anything in return, which I really like. So it's a really good network to be part of, and I've got quite a few folk to join as well. So I just think it's good value for money. Obviously the first course I'd done had changed my life, really, but I think that network's just more active in terms of people buying and what they're up to and stuff like that as well. There's people in there doing large scale developments. I mean, Danny himself, what I like about him is he just walks the walk. You get a lot of people online and they talk a good game, but he literally put a video up a few weeks ago and he's walking down a street and he's like, I own that building, I own that one, but he can prove it. Whereas you'll get some folk that will maybe go online and say, I'm doing this, but there's no proof of it. And that's your biggest marketing, I think, as a property investor. Like, here's what I'm doing. Like, people go in company's house, they're not stupid, they can go and check your charges and stuff as well. So that's what I really like about him as well. Like, he hates gurus, but he technically is one, but he almost banters with it. Like, he's got a really good network there that he kind of built by default. Because during COVID, I think he was a bit pissed off at how some educators run, so he decided to make his own one, and he's grew it into a really good network, and there's, like I said, 1,000 there. And he could probably have more if he wanted to as well. But I think he capped it a while ago, and the prices haven't raised since I've been in as well. But you just get so much value out of it. So, it's a good plug for Prosperity. And
Yeah, it's to be fair.
I'll send my invoice, Danny.
Class. You mentioned lettings there. That's something you're going into.
Aye.
Talk to me about that.
Aye, so it's just something I thought I'd do again by default. So I'm doing a lot of refurbs for investors. I'm passing a lot on to agents, and like a few months ago I was arguing with an agent. I says to them, like, this is £700 a month, and they're like, no, it's £550. And I'm like, no, it's 700. So they put it up at 700 and I had 5 applicants, and I was just thinking, you've nearly cost him £1,800 a year. What is it? It's 1,800 10 times what 1,500 plus 2 months. 1,800 a year. Just making sure I got my figures right. It's a lot of money for the investor.
Mega.
So I'm just thinking, I've just passed that on to them, and then when I said to them, you almost cost them 1,800 a year, they would say, oh, but they would have bid 700 anyway. And I'm thinking, it's not an auction, it's a property to let, and it had 5 applicants in a week, so you could have maybe pushed for 750, 800. So I kind of planted the seed then. So I'm like, I've just passed that on, and then I passed 2 others on, and it was like 1,100 a month rent, 650 rent, and then 650 rent. I'm thinking that's a good bit of business I've just passed on again, and I've always had investors asking. So my mortgage broker in Scotland passed me a letting agent up there because I've got a few in Scotland, and he's really experienced. He's got all the systems. He's been in the game for 25 years. So I pitched the idea to him about kind of partnering up, and thankfully he was quite receptive to it. So we've been running that for about a month and a half now, and I'm just kind of targeting existing people just now. So when we've got refurbs finishing, kind of tap them up during the refurb, and then try and just scale that up. So we've probably got about 20 odd under management already, which I think is pretty decent for the first month, because we're not even pushing it. But once we're fully up and running, and like I know what I'm doing more on the admin side and processes things, because I'm clueless. Like, I'll be honest, I'm good at like with people, and I'm good at managing people and stuff like that, and doing business with folk, but actual processes is where he comes in. So, and the good thing is he's got staff I can tap into. So he's got like 5 staff. So I'm in a group chat with all 6 of us, and I can just message saying like, what's the crack with this, or can you list this, or can we send this out to a landlord, and it's pretty much done. Whereas if I was trying to do this on my own, I wouldn't have a clue what I was doing. I don't have a clue what I'm doing, but he's there to teach me.
Keep it like that, mate. You don't want to know. So you joint ventured with a guy in Scotland, and he brings 4 members of staff or something with it. So is that the team? Is you and...
Aye, so he's already got his agency. He's got like 520 under management in Scotland. That's what appealed to me as well, because he's doing it at mass.
Yeah.
Another thing that appealed to me as well is the rent control's going to come in England. That's been in Scotland for years, probably during COVID. So we've experienced that already in Scotland. So I think it's an opportunity down here, because there is a lot of letting agents that don't really know what they're doing, and hopefully I'm not one of them. So I just thought I'll team up with him. He's a landlord, he's got a lot of properties. I'm pretty much doing all the maintenance for folk anyway, because if I'm doing a refurb for an investor and passing it on, they're phoning me if there's an issue with it. So I'm like, if I'm getting phoned with for it, I may as well be getting paid for it. So that's how it's kind of all fell for that. So it's went pretty well so far. I like to think I've got a good knowledge of the areas as well. Plus, like, you're at a stage where you're doing that money for yourself and investors, you're setting your own comparables for rents, and like you say, you end up having arguments with people that you're trying to pass in business, and then they're arguing you about how much the market rent is in a place. So it's been going pretty well so far, and then I think next year it'll be a focus on scaling that, try and get it to a couple of hundred, eventually get up to 400-500 what it is in Scotland. But Scotland's North East is like half the population of Scotland, so there's a lot more opportunity down here. And if I keep doing what I'm doing with the deals, and if I get a member of staff that hits the ground running next year, there's no reason why it couldn't hit that without even trying. So again, it's almost accidental. Like, I had it in my goals list, like with a question mark about lettings or SA management. I don't fancy SA management, so I was like, I'll go down the lettings route and see how it goes. But I just think it'll be good for lead generation and stuff as well, because you'll get landlords there that might be retiring, and you can get first dibs on, and it's an actual business. It's recurring revenue. But if you get any advice for me, having done it.
Oh man, I can see into the future with this business for sure. And I'm just thinking, I hope you don't get involved in the nitty gritty, because it will take you away from sourcing. But so, what's your plan for like hiring in that business? It's going to take more. Well, what's your partner's role within the business if you take it like 200? Is he going to be managing the staff, the maintenance, the landlords?
So I'm the like win the business, and I'm on the deck down here. So viewings, inventories and stuff like that, all that sort of stuff, which you can obviously outsource inventories and have a company view and stuff like that. So I'm pretty fine with that. Then it's contractors I need to source as well, which I've already got. So the maintenance and stuff is down to me, but then the actual operations is more down to him. So he's doing like all the tenancy agreements, all the referencing, all the background checks, dealing with the financials and stuff like that as well, paying the landlords. Whereas I'm just more the kind of the networking side of it, I suppose. Like, you're winning the business, you're obviously passing it on to him to get them onboarded, monitoring the contractor performance, managing any refurbishments and stuff like that as well, which I'm already doing. So that's how I just kind of saw it as a natural next step, because it's just a lot of, like, the year before was 75 deal source, so imagine I got 50 of them under management, because most of them are refurbs. It's a lot of money when you actually think, right, if the average rent here was 600 quid, you're leaving a lot of money on the table per year. So we'll see, but people are always looking to buy letting agencies as well. So
yeah, it's a good business to sell, definitely.
yeah, so that's my main thinking. It's like, it's scalable, and it's pretty easy to scale, I think, by default, because of my nature of my job. But you never know, I could end up doing it and loving it and scaling that side, and maybe ramping the sourcing down and only working with select investors. So we'll see how it goes. But I'm excited to see how it goes as well. So staff-wise as well, actual down here in England, once it gets to a certain amount of profit, we've agreed, like, this is another thing as well, the twos aren't desperate to reach into the money, so we'll just let it bubble up until there's enough to then take on support staff, but then that can help me with my operations as well. So that's where I'm at a crossroads just now. Like, I've done this all with just me, like, what could I do with a team behind us? But then it's like, are you going to have a team that cares as much as I do, or work as hard as I do? So it's a kind of catch-22, I suppose, but I know I need to just bite the bullet and do it, because I've got a lot of kind of exciting things, potentially getting in at football clubs to speak as well. So that's going to demand more of my time. And then if I'm doing something like this, then you'll go back to your phone and it can blow up. So I'd rather have it, the business is still ticking over when I'm not there, which is really what every goal is, I suppose, and you want to be as hands off as possible.
Yeah. How long is the maintenance taking up at the moment of your time?
The maintenance, the properties, the refurb's pretty much not too bad. We've probably got, it's usually about 20 projects and they go at the one time, but everybody all does their part, and like, I know I can trust them to do their part as well. So for example, I'll go back up this afternoon, I'll go around the houses, and some of them, you know that people are going to be there. I go down quite a lot with investors and show them around and stuff as well, because they're all dotted about different areas. So I suppose for the contractors as well, it's good for them to see, like, they know the amount of work that's coming in, and then they're seeing investors, and sometimes you're turning up with somebody that's a bit high profile and they're buzzing. Like, I've brought a few Sunderland players in before, and one of the painters is a Sunderland fan, they're like starstruck. It's good for them to see, because they're like, well the standards will always stay up, because then if they drop their standards, then they won't get the refurbs anymore. So it's quite kind of good to show them, like, this is the ongoing work. They know now we've worked with us for over a year, some of them. So they know the volume of work's coming in. So they almost don't want to let you down as well, because you're sound with them.
Yeah.
I'm the good cop with them, do you know what I mean? Then other folks are bad cops. So I appreciate what they do, but obviously the sort of, like, when you're having to snag them and stuff like that as well, let others put their balls on that. So it's almost like people management, I suppose, isn't it? But they're all sound. I can level with them. It's not like I'm going in, I'm in a suit and a tie, and I'm trying to talk down on them. They're just the same as us. Do you know what I mean? They're just playing a different part for the business, but they understand their role, and obviously they know that the work's going to keep coming. So, because some of the contractors we've got, like, were having inconsistent work before, and they were good contractors, whereas they know now we've got good work and it's on a steady flow. So they're not going to let you down, are they? Unless they're daft and don't understand business.
Yeah. And so 20 live projects at every one time. How many contractors are spread across that?
So I've got RJR that I use. He's pretty much does all my stuff. He's probably got. I went in yesterday. There was 2 painters on one. He's got an art painter, so I think he's got 3 painters. Then he's got a few heating engineers.
Just give all the work to him. Is that what you do?
Aye, so he's got, like, he pretty much gets first dibs on all the work, and then there's another lad I use as well, Mark Forster. So he does quite a lot as well, and he can, between the two of them, they've got big squads. So you're probably talking maybe 30, 40 contractors. Like, for example, with Mark, there was a refurb he was doing for an investor, and it popped up during the refurb that it needed a rewire. The previous seller had a dodgy ICR, so we've got round to checking the electrics. It usually would knock back a job pretty quickly, like knock it back for a few days, but he had 5 Sparkies up that day doing a rewire in a day, so he's got the volume. Rob's obviously very good as well. he's got good lads. I mean, we've got a plaster that works for Rob that could do the job of 3 plasterers, man. So it's just about keeping them topped up with work, but they can handle the work as well, which is good without sacrificing the quality. And then you just keep delivering, and the refurbs can be spread anywhere from Darlington all the way just now, all the way up to Hexham and all the way up towards Morpeth, so in Newbiggin. So it's pretty big area to cover as well, which is good, because you've got some contractors before they only want to work within 10 minutes of their house, whereas these guys will go anywhere, so it's pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, what I found difficult with working with like the main contractor was the prices, obviously, because they need to put their markup on theirs, and you maybe put a markup on as well. But I think if the investors want speed, they want quality, they have to pay a bit more, don't they? Or they can get it done cheaper, but they probably won't get it done as good. I
had a guy, so he came down here for a day. He was saying he was wanting to buy deals through me and stuff like that, but he's basically he was in a different industry, but he's wanting to get into property. And I spoke to a couple of lads in the industry. He said he was in the watch industry, so I spoke to one of my mates, and he just said, look, he's a bit of a known messer, him. So he was basically trying to get the contact so he could go direct to him, because he was obsessed, and he said that I was making a fortune off him. But I was like, I'm going to make money off my project management, my sourcing fee. That's where my money comes from. And then I get looked after my refurbs off the builders as well, because I'm passing so much work to them. So, I mean, I've had stuff done before, and they're just like, it's okay, like, just keep passing work, and that's the kind of relationship I've got with them. But he just had it in his head that I was trying to make money off him, which obviously he was saying to me, you'll get the project management. So he jumped on a deal that John Buck was on, and the only reason he jumped on it is because he thought John was going to buy it. So he bypassed paying a fee to the sourcer, and then I messaged the 2 contractors just saying, look, you're probably going to get a message off this guy. Lo and behold, he messages the first guy. I told him, I says, look, that's a 30 grand refurb. He's like, nah, he's a miles out, it's 20 grand. Bear in mind, this guy's not got a house, it's his first ever one. So he's went and messaged Rob saying your quote's miles out, and then he's messaged the builder Mark, and Mark just said, like, I'm not touching that if you haven't sourced it. So some people do try and be fly and stuff like that and do that, but I just don't understand it, because he's based in Scotland. He messaged me wanting to come down the North East and wanting deals, then he's went and done that. So I deleted him out my group, and then he went ahead with a quote off Rob, and then said, I'm come down to pay your deposit, and then just blanked him. And I messaged him because Rob said, like, go and find out what's happening with this job. And he says, you're too politically involved in this refurb now, I'm not doing it. So he's obviously going to try and get it done himself. So deep down, you're hoping he makes an arse of it and goes crawling to him, because the quality's there for they too. But I just think he was quite fly the way he tried to go about things, just for the sake of saving a couple of grand. But if that's the way he wants to operate, then fair enough. He's been booted out my group now, and I just said to him, look, I'm here to do business, not to have a pen pal, and I've kind of wasted enough time on you, because I let him come down for half a day and showed him around all the houses when I could have been out doing other stuff. But some folk just don't have the same intentions as you do, they. And he'll probably message me after he watches this, but I don't care, man, he's a messer.
The Glasgow portfolio, is that the big one?
Aye.
How did it come about?
My mortgage broker messaged me, so there was a guy buying 16, so he was buying the first date and then he was buying the second date. He bought the first date, but he self-manages, so I think he was having hassle with one of the tenants, and that put him off buying the second date. And my broker phoned me, and I literally just had a refinance come down here, and I was about to pay the investor like a couple of weeks later. So that was going through, and then my guy said to me, my broker says, you need to buy this deal. So it was like 83.5 a unit. They're worth 135 a unit. This guy had already had his revalued, so he was like, you should take the deal. So managed to get it through my broker. I paid the guy a 15 grand fee, and I didn't even know any of the addresses. So I paid him 5 grand up front because it was all I had at the time. And then I got the rest together, and then he eventually gave us the addresses. Then when I was in legals with the 8, he says, by the way, I'm going to get rid of this one. I've got a problem tenant. So I says, I'll buy it off you. So I bought it off him for 83.5, and then that one revalued at 120, but it wasn't in great condition. And then the other 8 I've went through last Friday, so we're refurbing one at the moment. The other 7 are all tenanted. We'll get them refinanced. A lot of them are under rented. The landlord bought them for like 41.5 grand back in 2002. So he had a big capital gains issue, and then obviously he's selling them for double what he's paid for them as well. But it was just through my broker, basically. He brought me it. He knows I was easy to deal with. I paid the guy without even seeing any of the addresses because I trusted the numbers. And then obviously out of a 16-unit portfolio who was meant to buy, I've ended up with 9 of them now at the 16. So once they're all up and running properly, you're probably talking about 450 net cash flow, 500 net cash flow a month per unit. 8 of them I'm going to leave on buy to let, and I'm going to Airbnb the one I'm doing up because I'm doing it to a nice standard. So I mean, that's pretty much a life-changing deal there, probably like about $5,000 net off the 9. It's going to take time to get the 8 rents up, but my broker got me the deal, paid the guy as soon as possible and got it into legals, and then obviously raised the money. I needed $100,000 to do the deal, which I raised for the private investors, and then I ended up having to put a little bit more in. So I had 2 lenders on it. So Lendinvest were given 90% to purchase, but to get 2 of the tenants weren't given access. So together would only give me 75% on an online value. So $123,000 in. The loan's about 556, and the remortgage will be, it's 1.08 million. So it'll be like all money out plus 150 grand or something once it's done, and it cash flows as well. So, but it's just through trusting my broker. I mean, I bought one in Alloa off him the other week. 100 grand. We expected 130. I got slightly down valued to 118, but I'm just putting that on a repayment mortgage. I'm getting like 790 rent. Just stick that in a repayment mortgage and just forget about it for the long term. Doing one in Stirling just now as well through my broker. It was a shop, converting it to a 2-bed flat. So there's 10 houses through my broker, and it's like because he knows he says to folk all the time, they're like, why does Chris get the deals? And he's like, I can send Chris a deal if I'm sourcing it on, and then Chris will have $2,000 for me within an hour or a couple of hours, or I'll give Chris it to buy and I know he's not going to pull out. So I just try and have a reputation for being easy to deal with. Ewan's helped my business massively as well because he's taught me so much, and then I've probably helped him as well with the amount of cases I'm referring to him. Like, he pretty much gets anything for any source on the North East. So like Ross Orrick goes to him for him and his clients. I go to him for mine and my clients. John Buck goes for him and his clients. So you're talking the deal flow just between us three will be quite a bit. Then we do deals together, but we get a laugh when we're doing it as well. Because he's in this, I mean, he's got 100 units and he's only 26.
Crazy.
So he's like, sometimes I'm phoning him having a crisis at times. I'm like, what the fuck am I doing in my life here? Like, I'm in deep. Like, should I just get back to an office job? But they talk you through it. So it's good. You're around people that are buying houses. My builders buy houses. My lawyer buys houses. Ewan buys houses. I'm buying houses. So you're just within your net. I don't see what I'm doing as abnormal, but to a normal person, they're looking, what the hell is going on here? Like, how are they doing that? But I mean, Ewan's buying 6 a month, so I think he's 72 this year, that'll be. And I'm like, wow, that's crazy. I've only done 37, whereas there'll be people looking going, they two have done 100 between them. So
how good is Ewan? Like, how did you get in touch with him?
I followed him on Instagram.
Pestered him with Teddy.
No, it was actually he just went full time as a broker, and I had a call booked between him and another broker called Michael Lenny, and I missed a call from the two of them. And I was walking down at Bladen, just walking during the summer, and I saw him put a story up. I'm like, fuck, I'm going to phone him because I missed the call from him before. So I says, mate, you free now to chat? Got on the phone to him, hit it off like, straight away. And when I was on my walk, I just turned around and walked back to the car and I says, I'm going up to the house now, tell me what you need from me, and like, you've got all my business for here on in. And it's funny because he always says you're the only person that's ever said that to me that actually delivered. So I gave him 7 remortgages then, and then I just started referring him all my client stuff. And then obviously I started to take off, but the kind of two of us took off at the same time. But again, it's just you meet certain people at the right times, and he's really good to deal with. He's helped us out at times and I've helped him out at times, and that's the type of relationship you want. So when I was buying, he passed me that Stirling deal because he couldn't buy it, and then he actually ended up having to help us out because I had a remortgage it dragged on. So he's obviously the broker for the mortgage. The remortgage had dragged on. He's like, look, I'll lend you money short term to get the deal through. So you just help each other out like that, whereas you don't really get that relationship with other people. Like, sometimes he'll phone us like, can you help us out with this? And I'll put, like, this year I've probably helped raise about 300 or 400 grand for him, but I wouldn't do that for anyone else because obviously I get stung when I done it once as well. So I've put folk onto him to give him money and introduced him to investors, whereas like I've had people before that have messaged me like, oh, can you pass me on to people who will fund us? And I'm just like, no way. Yeah. But I trust it with Ewan. Plus it's good as well for the investor because their pot's constantly out working for them, and I could have a deal on, they'll fund me, then Ewan could have one, they'll fund him. But the two is kind of just look at things the same way. We want to do volume, and we want to get a laugh as well when we're doing it, and we're not out to fuck each other over. Like, we're very down the middle with everything. He'll refer me investors, I'll refer him people as well. So it just comes back to you, I think. Whereas there's a lot of people that are all take. Like, I don't even... We did referral fees at the start because he says I give 100 per one, and it got to Christmas last year and I says, look, mate, just leave the referrals, call it. It was like 32 referrals. I says, just give $2,000, call it quits. And then But then he's passed me this portfolio, and I says if the values hit where we're expecting, I'll buy you a watch when it goes through and stuff. So we've got a really good relationship, probably more pally now. He's going to become at my wedding. We do a lot of events together and stuff as well. But aye, you just look to try and build genuine relationships, I think, and that's helped my business because, like I say, you'll get emails from him sometime. Here's a client looking to buy and stuff like that. Whereas if you almost had that relationship where it's transactional, or you owe me £100 for this, you owe me that. So, aye, it was funny because he was down the other week at the football with us, and he was just looking at his bank. Like he searched my name in the transactions, and just through co-sourcing, it was like 83 grand he's made this year for sourcing with me, like co-sourcing. I'm just like, it's mental when you actually sit and think about it like that. Plus, he's had all the mortgage business, but then I've also probably made 83 grand because we half everything down the middle. And then whatever he's passed me, like there's 10 houses I've just rhymed off that he's brought to me. So just try and have a good relationship, and you never know what comes off the back. Like he knows I'll try and be as easy as possible to work with, and then he probably thinks, you know what, I can't, like he hates speaking to investors because he's a broker. So if he puts a deal out, he doesn't want to be fielding all these questions. Like I'll take that off for him. So he'll just think, well, he's an easy outlet to go, and that's what I try and be for people. Like I want people to come to me with deals, especially as I'm kind of scaling up. Like I can't cover all the patches myself, so if you're in Middlesbrough, for example, and you've got a deal, I want you to come to me. That's what I want folk to be doing, and then that means I've got more areas to kind of source deals, which means I'll have more investors as well, because you'll have folk looking at Teesside, you'll have folk looking at Darlington, folk up my way. So I just think the more the better, basically.
What sort of stuff did he teach you? You said obviously he's helped your business a lot and he's taught you stuff.
Ewan, probably just how to deal with pressure and stuff like that as well, I suppose, because you're doing so much at the one time, and how to fund some cases. Like I said, like before I'd met him, I just thought, like, I didn't even know anything about bridging loans, and I didn't like auctions or anything like that, because you hear like a lot of folks say don't go near auction, whereas he's kind of taught you just to like have a good lawyer in place. So for example, have the legal pack checked before you bid on something, and auction's probably my favourite method now. So he kind of moves at speed, so he'll show you what lenders to go with as well. So some lenders are really good at speeds. For example, Together, getting in and out of deals, you're really quick with them. So he's just showing you what's the best lenders for what type of houses, and not to rule out any type of houses as well. So if you've got something that's non-standard, but it's a really good deal, you can take it to certain lenders. So it just kind of teaches you how to do deals is what the main thing is, and try and see the opportunity where others can't. And he lives in a town in Scotland which is quite a small population, and there's a lot of people saying that they can't get deals in that town, whereas he's done 70 odd this year, and he's a full-time mortgage broker. His job's not even sourcing properties, so he's just like, how there is deals out there. So his mindset's pretty good. It takes a lot to phase him, and then he's quite funny at times as well. Like he phoned me the other week saying, I'm not losing sleep over money at the moment, so I need to start buying some more houses. So he's all about pushing it to the next level as well. So I think that's the main thing, teaching you to think big and just getting deals done. And the main thing he's taught us is like getting the blinkers on. So I'll get a deal agreed, and then it's like, right, on to the next one, rather than sitting patting myself in the back. So that's quite a big thing, I think, as well. You really want to get on to the next deal. So he said you need to be a deal junkie basically in this game, because there's a lot of people that maybe do what I've done, and I've done pretty well, and I've only had time to reflect when I get to do stuff like this. But I do this and I'm like, right, it's great, but then how do we top that? Whereas a lot of folk will maybe just take the foot off the gas, and then all of a sudden the pipeline's dried up, the agents have moved on elsewhere because you're not buying anymore. And do you know what I mean? You need to be constant, I think, foot to the pedal, and always on the ground buying deals, and obviously buying for yourself, buying for investors, and people will just keep coming to you. The more you buy, the more it comes to you, really, innit?
Big year next year?
I sat and done my goals yesterday, so I do something like 30 goals a year. So this year I did 30, and I've hit quite a lot of them. Most of them work related though, but I also put like personal goals and weight loss goals and stuff like that as well. Unfortunately, I've not hit my weight loss ones. I was quite heavy at the start of the year. I'm probably lost about 15 kilos this year, but I really need to be 30 off next year, I think. So one of the main things I want next year is to focus more on my fitness, because in the morning, I think, see if I get up and I take my dog out for a walk and then I get my run or my gym in, your mindset's just unbelievable, and your energy as well. So I think that's going to be one of the main focuses for me next year, because it's going to help my business as well. I want to get into I've been dealing with a lot of athletes as well, so footballers and rugby players. I'd like to get in a few clubs just to talk to them and stuff like that as well, and try and get more business done through that. I've got the office up and running soon, so my main goals work-wise, I want to do 200 deals next year. This year I set out to do 100. And then I set out to buy 20 houses. I've agreed 37 and completed in 23, I think it was, after that one yesterday. So I think next year, if I just aim kind of double that as well. Because if you set your goals high and you miss them, like say I set out to buy 40 and I miss it, I could be on 20 or 30. Whereas if you set out to buy 3 and you miss it, you could be on none.
Yeah.
So you almost need to be stupid with your goals. And then like if you keep turning up every day, you never know what happens. Like when I set out to do 100 at the start of the year, I'm like, there's no chance in that. And then by the time it hit like September, I was on 100 and I was like, what the hell is going on here? And then I feel in my head I've took my foot off the gas, even though I've probably not. And now it's 152 or 53, I think it is. Cause I don't know if I'm counting that deal this morning or not. So it's been, touch wood, it's been a good year and hopefully more of the same. But you just want to grow, don't you? And then I'd like to get to 100 units in the portfolio. So once I get to that, then I'll look at stop scaling up.
Pay the leverage off.
I've been paying some of them off here and there when money comes in. So I've maxed out 2 mortgages for the overpayment this year. Then I've got one that's not worked on Airbnb, so I bought it for 90. I spent 10 on it, and it's been doing all right in Airbnb, but it's not going to work long term. And then Mears wouldn't take it as well, and the cash flow wouldn't be great as a buy to let. So I'm selling it for 140 grand, but that's tied in with another mortgage in Houghton Springs. So I'm just going to use the money. So it's like 110 grand mortgage. I've sold it for 140, so there'll be 20-25 profit in there. I'll just pay that off my other mortgage, and then that's me kind of created more equity out of nothing. So you never know. I could get to 100 and then say I want to get to 200, but I think 100's a good figure. And then if my average portfolio, if the average value is about 100 to 120 grand, that's a 10 to 12 million portfolio. And then start looking at paying down, and I can actually enjoy my cash flow and stuff, because it's very much just chaotic every day. And like, you know what it can be like, man. Like folk always say, you're up in the morning, you're walking the dog, and then it's just boom, boom, boom. You're here, you're over there, you're doing this, you're doing that. Like today, I'm over to Headingley Hole after this. I'll be going to Whitley Bay to collect keys because I've got a portfolio getting valued tomorrow for an investor. Then I'm just going to be around the houses, picking up keys in Wickham for a house I'm doing up in Chalkwell for myself. So you're just all over. And then you're just documenting it to folk. And it's like, fucking hell.
Talk to me about the office. So is it the refurb nearly done? What's the plan with that?
Probably a couple of weeks away. So we've got it all. It's an industrial unit. So my builder, Rob, he messaged me because he's got a unit. I think he's like 2D, and 2E came up, and it would have been perfect for us, but I dicked about getting it and I lost it. Then 1F came up, which is across the road, but it's a lot bigger. So it's like 73 square metres. So I'm going to have like my office, a meeting room, just getting all kitted out. I need to obviously get the ceilings done and stuff like that as well. But it's just going to be a good base to work from, and then meet investors as well, because if folk are coming down, I'm like, I'll come into my house, and then my missus is like, the house is a fucking riot. Like, why are you bringing folk down? Like yesterday I brought someone down, she's like, why are you inviting folk to this house when it's a mess? And so it's just a good base to meet folk from. But she works from home. She works for Boston MIT Uni, and the office is now basically hers. So we've cleared all the office for her because she really needs to be focused when she's there, and I'm a bit messy and cluttery for her. So it just means I've got my own space. I can take the dog up there and stuff like that as well. And then it's just a good base to work from. So I'm looking forward to it. So obviously it's quite a scary thing taking on the expense, because it's like $750 plus VAT a month. So it's like, fucking hell, you're all of a sudden put 10 grand a year in your overheads, plus your electrics, plus your internet. But for the deals I'm doing this year, really, if you want to scale, you need to think like that, like taking on, and then you never know. Hopefully by a year or two I've maybe outgrown the office. You never know what's going to happen. So
you're going to put staff in there, or is it just for your materials?
It's going to be an office. So staff. It's going to be a full-on office. The full thing's going to be like a working space or something like this. So I just think you really need to do that if you want to grow. I spoke to one of my mates. He had a recruitment business which he's exiting, and he said like him and his business partner, my mate was happy doing what I'm doing, just on the deck doing deals, but the business partner's like, right, we need to take a bigger office on, we need to hire staff, and then before you know it, you can maybe grow it into something. Like, you never know, there's people that have managed to build good businesses down here and scale up, so I should be able to do the same realistically.
100%, yeah, I don't see why not. When we spoke last time, you were potentially going to go down the mortgage route.
Aye.
And I think you spoke about possibly an auction company as well.
Aye.
Why did you not go for those, and why did you go down the the lettings route?
Aye, so obviously the mortgages, like I'm shit at admin. Like it's just a stupid thing that came at the time. I was going to lose my driving license for 6 months. So I was like, right, if I'm going to be out of action for 6 months and can't drive about, I'm going to just do the mortgages. But I realised very quickly I'm then going to be in competition with Ewan, who's probably going to outwork me in the mortgage space, and I'm shit at admin. So I was like, leave that. The auction thing was a really good, I think, idea, and you never know, it could be something for the future. But the agents that you're then buying through become competition. Whereas with lettings, there has been a couple of agents I've got their nose out of joint, mate, but I'm like, I don't really see what I'm doing is wrong, because I'm not tapping their business up or anything like that. It's I'm buying the houses anyway. So I just think that's probably one that's scalable and you can sell on. You never know, I could maybe do an auction one down the future. I know a couple of folk in Scotland that have got one, Prime Property Auctions. They've built a very successful auction company, but I just think it's too much conflict between the sourcing as well, and I really enjoyed doing the sourcing just now. So if I ever get fed up with the sourcing, mate, I'll maybe do it then. But I just think, like, for what I'm doing, like, you're doing the sourcing, you're doing the refurbs, lettings is like the most natural next step. Whereas if you do the auctions, I sell your house, then it's up to you to do the rest, so your involvement finishes there. Whereas I really enjoy the process of the refurbs and like showing the before and afters and stuff as well, and you actually learn a lot about refurbs. So I just think that the lettings was a logical one when you look at all of them together. The mortgages, I wouldn't have been able to handle the paperwork. The auctions maybe something that down the line, but I just think the lettings is the kind of most logical, especially when I've got a guy to kind of help us along the way, because he's coming down next week and he'll be able to show me the way and almost mentor you as well, which is really what you need. Like, for example, like you've had Harvey showing you the ropes of things and things like that. Like, if I was trying to just take a stab at that myself, I'd make an arse of it. Whereas if I make an arse of something, he's there to help me. So I do think you really need to be partnering up with folk. Like, I'm down here, but I know I can be up here, whereas his experience is up here. My experience and knowledge is there, but then when my attitude's up here, it will bring that up. So you just need folk that will kind of bring you up along the way. So we'll see how it goes. I think it will go well. I don't think it will fail. Obviously, you don't go in with that mindset as well. Hopefully don't go into stuff thinking it'll fail, but I'm excited to see that go. But like I said, when you look between that lettings and auctions and mortgages, I just think that's the most logical bolt on to sourcing, because like I said, you then become a competitor to agents when you're in auctioneers, because you're trying to get the same houses off them, and then the sourcing has to kind of stop. So I think that's the best route for now. Well, I'm looking to scale that.
What about mentoring as well? I'm sure I've seen something online that you're involved in the mentoring space now. So
it's just, again, it's more deal flow, I suppose. So me and John have been doing it for a bit of just under a year now, and we've got lads, so we're teaching them how to source and how to find deals and stuff. So there's a lad that we've been doing, Alex. He's been working really hard for the last 9 months. I think he's done 3 deals now in the last week. We've also had a lad, Josh, who's been doing it for a while. I think he's done something like 11 or 12. But really, again, when John came to me, he really wants to do the education and stuff like that, and I like it as well. It's a good buzz, like going and you're seeing folk that are hungry and you're helping them. So what I was thinking alongside the lines of was, well, it'll be more deal flow again, because they'll hopefully come to me with the deals. So
is that how it's working out as well?
Aye. So there's the deal I done this morning came from 2 lads that we've got in the programme, Stephen and Matt. They came to me with the deal and we've managed to close it up for them, and then like that's a deal done for them. So they've been in for 2 months. But again, it's just, I think it's good to have that, because it's priced in a way that they can make their money back within 1 or 2 deals. But then for me, I'm thinking, right, it's more areas for me, because you've got folk down Teesside, folk up in Sunderland, folk across the North East. But then I'm busier now, so it's like I can't be as on the deck as before. So if you've got folk that can stack the refurbs and know what they're doing, you can do more volume. So I would rather do 200 deals next year and every one of them's co-sourced and go out and do it, and it's me that's found them all myself. Like, yeah, you'll make more money, but fucking the stress that you'll be under. You obviously sense checking with them and stuff like that as well. Like, right, what's your refurb bit? If you saw it, if you checked for this, you checked for that. But that's what the whole kind of teaching them's about as well, so they know what to look for. So it's a ready-made deal for an investor, because I think that's where a lot of folk kind of fall off, is the refurbs. So for example, there's a street in Beamish, John Street, and I was in a group, so there's a couple of instances. If the guy put one up in Stanley, so it's a property company based down in Teesside. he put a deal up in Stanley saying it's no refurb, and I was in it, and I was down at 30 grand. So I messaged the guy and I says, have you been in this? He's like, yeah. And I was like, I was just making sure, because I was at 30 grand refurb. I don't know how you were at 0. And then he posted one in John Street in Beamish, and I've done 3 on that street, and the lowest refurb was 27 on the street. He had it down as 6 grand full refurb, and I was at 6 grand just for the damp, and I queried it, and then he removed me from his group. So I just think some investors...
Yeah, I know you mean.
You probably know who I'm talking about.
I do know, yeah.
But I just think to myself, like, how are they going to get away with that with investors? Because there's no way, like, honestly, you wouldn't even kick a ball with 6 grand in there for what he had down. But if that's the way some of them want to go about their business, they're going to burn that investor once and they'll be fed up with property, or they just won't go back to them. Whereas if you're actually honest with investors, like, about refurbs, if anything, I over-egg refurbs. Like, I done one the other day, and I'd put down a rewire on it, but it was actually a new build for 2,000. But I'm just like, that's me being negative. Like, if you're going to spend 20 grand, then put an extra few grand in for a rewire there. But the same token, investors appreciate that. Like, I'll always price in, if I'm doing kitchen, bathroom, paint, flooring, you may as well skim it and get a rewire as well, because it helps the end value. But if you want to knock it off, that's fine. Like, just don't come crying if the end value doesn't quite get where you need to be. So I just think you really need to... It's good for investors, gives them peace of mind that you're actually pricing stuff properly, rather than pricing stuff at fuck all or next to fuck all to try and sell a deal. And then, like, you're just creating a problem down the line for yourself, because there's no way you'd have got that refurb. I think I was at like 27 or 28 for it, and now we're at 6 grand. So it's not like I'm at 10 and they're at 6. It's like 4 times as much mine was, but I don't know. I'd like to see the afters on that one to see if it's stuck in budget.
Yeah. Realistically, what's a good deal then? You know, because obviously every deal can't be the Glasgow portfolio account. So what, when people are coming to you to buy these deals, what can they expect?
I think if you're leaving 15 grand or under in's a really good deal. So I mean, I'll leave up to 10, 15 grand in deals now, because although I'm using investor finance now on deals, I can afford to leave money in. So say my portfolio's kicking me 10 grand net a month. Realistically, I'm only leaving 1.5 months worth of rent in the deal. So I think 15 grand or under is a really good deal, but that's including all your fees and stuff like that as well. And then you're wanting kind of 250 net cash flow as well per 100 grand. So if the house is worth 100, 15 grand left in with 250 cash flow. I've bought some really good deals this year. I've bought 2 in Stanley, in Orwell Gardens. I bought one for 60 and I bought one for 63. The 60 grand one, I didn't really do anything. I spent about 500 quid on it, just getting compliance and stuff. Revalued at 80 grand, so I got most of my money back out, and I get 650 a month rent. The other one was 63 grand. I put a new bathroom in, so I spent about 4.5, 5 grand with that in paint. And that revalued at 75. The tenant was in paying 475 a month. They served notice as soon as I bought it, and they said they were moving closer to the centre. And that gets me now 650 a month. So between their 2 properties, I'm getting 1,300 gross.
Did you buy those cash and then refinance, or did you do it quite creatively?
So I had, again creatively, so I had 2 investors. They lent me for the deposit and the purchasing costs, and then I bridged the rest of it, and then I refinanced. So and then I put the second one that I bought the bathroom on, I put that on my credit card and then paid that off the refinance. So I mean, that's a good trick as well. I've probably got about 60 grand access to credit cards if I need it pretty quickly. So I've got Capital and Tap and 2 Amexes, but I wouldn't recommend them because interest rates are quite savage on them. So only use them if you're paying them off in the month. Then I've got Zopa, Fluid, Barclaycard, MBNA, Virgin, which I've probably got about 35, 40 grand there. But they give you really good rates on money transfers, so it's cheaper than the bridging loan and stuff. But you're always, when you're buying property, you know what it's like, you're always skint. So you just, sometimes you're juggling about and you're waiting to pull this in for a refinance. You'll do this short term to get this in. It's all just kind of a juggling act, I suppose, at times, but you make it work. It's like I say, it's not like you're out partying all your money and spending it on drinking drugs and shite, or buying it on designer clothes and stuff like that as well. You're buying assets that are going to be paying you, so you just, and I'm now at a stage where I've got a big enough portfolio where I've got rents coming in that I can factor that in when I'm buying a deal now as well. So, because I've not got a big pot of cash sitting, but I've got good income coming in for the sourcing, I've got good income coming for the rent, so you can then factor them in when you're actually looking at deals. So I'll leave up to kind of 15 in deals now. Like when I'm looking at a deal, it's like, is it something that I want, stuff that I'm going to be able to offload if I ever want to, rather than just buying loads of shitty little units. But then I'll buy in areas as well. Like I bought one up in Chalkwell the other day. Most people won't touch that area, but I got it for 25. I'll spend about 30 on it. I'll revalue it 75 all day. I'll get 525 rent. One of my best tenants lives in Chalkwell. He's been in 2.5 years. Pays every month like clockwork. So, I just want to be focusing on picking up stuff that's not going to give me a headache, touch wood, in the future. And then again, that's one of the reasons why you want to be kind of lowly geared, because if I can pay most of my debt off, then I become my own bank. Like I mentioned earlier on, I managed to get 40 grand raised pretty easily by giving a charge on a property I own outright. So if you get a bunch of properties you own outright and a really good deal comes up, right, I'll bridge against this, and then I've got my rents coming in for here. So I just think that's the way to go. There'll be some folk that probably don't agree with it, but there's no right or wrong way to do it, I don't think.
You're going to focus on resi, or are you going to go into commercial?
I'd like to do commercial. I'd like to obviously get to 100 resi and then maybe look at commercial, because the problem with commercial is the barrier's a lot higher in it. So they sell stuff on a yield basis sometimes as well. So I keep my eye on stuff up in Scotland, and like my hometown where I grew up, there was a cafe and it went for like 170 grand for the building based on what they were paying rent, and you're just thinking to yourself, oh, it's going to take the electricity to go up again in a bad few months, and then that's lying vacant. So I'd maybe want to start smaller scale, maybe like commercial and resi, so like a shop with some flats above it and go for there, because there's a lot of cheap stuff kicking about down here. And my lawyer that I use, Alex Rubin, he's quite heavily into commercial as well, so I think that's something I'll start going in, but smaller scale, and then look to get the bigger stuff. But I'd like to do that, because with commercial it's down to the tenant to fix it, whereas with resi, if somebody's boiler goes, they're phoning you, or there's a bit of damp, or there's issues, they're phoning you with it, whereas when it's commercial, it's kind of down to them. So that's what appeals to me. Plus, obviously, you get the long-term FRI leases and stuff as well.
Yeah.
But I think walk before you can run. Like I wouldn't want to, I was looking at developments and stuff like that before, and I'm just like, what am I doing? Because that could just sink you.
Yeah.
And I know folk that have done it, and it's sank them as well. So I think that's maybe an ego thing, that you're wanting to do these big developments, but I'd rather just scale up, and then get across into commercial. So do your apprenticeship.
Good way of looking at it. You mentioned your deals group earlier. Is that where all your deals are posted then? Is that where people can buy them from?
Aye, so I mean, I've got investors that I work with, like in a one-to-one basis, so they'll get first dibs on the deals, these guys.
Are they paying you for that, Chris, or is that just purely based on previous sort of relationship and stuff like that?
Bit of both. So some folk pay you up front. You've got some folk that I just know are always buying, and then they kind of get first refusal on it, and then if they say no, it goes in the group. But there's just under 900 in there now. I built it for nothing as well, and then obviously I've just kind of managed to build a good reputation in it for having good deals. Like there's deals that go in there that pretty much go straight away, and there's deals that go in, they're snapped up within hours. There's I mean, I put a portfolio of HMOs in Stirling in Scotland for 1.2 million, and that sold within about an hour in the group, because it's Article 4 in Stirling, so they're banned, the HMOs, so if you had to sell them individually, you'd probably get 20% over market value. So you're doing a mixture, you're doing portfolios in there. I've done about 3 or 4 portfolios in that group, and I've had folk pop up I've never even dealt with before that have ended up buying 4, 5, 6 units. So that's the main thing, and it's good because it's instantaneous. Like, you know what it's like, I've not even got an email list, whereas with WhatsApp, somebody wants to inquire about it, you just hit them with the details instantly, and then you've got that kind of chat history with them as well. So I posted a block that I did up in Northumberland, and it was an 800 grand block, and I put on it, respectfully, no tire kickers or dreamers, and there was people inquiring, and I'm looking back in our chat and I'm sending them like a 60 grand deal, and they just blanked me. So you're almost bantering with them. And I said to one of the guys, I says, mate, you blanked me over a 60 grand buy to let. I says, I've not got much confidence over a 1.1 million block here. It's worth 1.1 for 800 grand. So it's quite funny when you can banter with them and stuff like that as well. But you build relationships without even knowing it, because I'm getting back to them quickly, answering any questions. If they say no, I'm not holding it against them. For me, if they say no quickly, that's as good as saying yes quickly. And then they're in the group and they can see the deals that are going in, and eventually when the time's right, it's like, right, like, I'm ready now. So it's almost like you're marketing yourself, because I'll put my videos in, I'll offer like my showround days and stuff, I'll link to my Instagram where they can come and see us as well. So they're just getting to know you as a person, seeing you're human, I suppose, which is good.
Yeah, 100%. Are you taking cash up front for your sourcing fee?
I usually take it as soon as it's formally accepted, and then like obviously a lot of the stuff as well. If it's auction, like the exchange contracts immediately. But I try and take it up front straight away as soon as it's been accepted. Because I've heard some folk been burnt before, and some folk not being paid, or they'll try and haggle them. Like I had one guy, he didn't pay up front. He pulled out the deal, and I says, "We'll give us half the fee." And he says, "Nah, I'll give you $1,000." And I'm like, doesn't really work like that. And then that same guy brought to me a house to sell, and that fell through because he was flirting with other offers, and then he got a kind of a survey done on it, which was a fake survey. Don't think most lenders accept it. So he had it down at 75 grand, but it was actually worth 45. And like we just didn't have good feelings off the guy. So again, he was causing hassle. So I'm just thinking like I should have taken up front off him at the start when he bought, because folk like that, then it's like, right, he's pulled out the deal, he's made me look a dick. But he didn't really care about the consequences. Then he's just on to the next person doing it. So I think it's a good way to do it, because you've done the work, you've stacked the deal, and they've accepted the deal. And then if they're maybe not happy with doing it, maybe do half up front or half on completion. I'm dealing with a couple of folk just now where I'm waiting on completion to them, but they've had a bad experience with their sourcers. So, and like there's a few in there that are big fees. Like there's a portfolio in there, there's an HMO in there. So I'm quite happy to wait as well, because then that's cash flow down the line for you. But I try and take it up front if possible.
If you've never done a deal with the person, is there any chance that they could not pay up front or half?
If they've been a warm referral, so for example, if like someone referred them to me and I trust that person, I could do. You make a judgment call, don't you? I tend to be a good judge of character as well. So Ewan said that to us. I'll tell him if somebody's a time waster or someone's worth putting time into, and he's like, you've got 100% record so far. So you just make that judgment call, because if it's going to harm the business between me and the guy, like if he's really unhappy, I'm kind of pushing him into it straight away, and he's got the potential to do 5, 10, 15 deals, then I'll just say, look, I can wait for it. But then if you've got a bad feeling on the guys, you know what it's like, sometimes you don't get a confident feeling off the investor, then I'll just be like, nah, like up front. But I just think you've done the job, so you deserve to get paid for it. Like I pay up front I spoke about it earlier, I paid a guy 15 grand, and I didn't even know any addresses of what I was buying. So I've no problem doing it, so I don't see the problem with others, but I understand why some will, because sourcers get a bad rep, don't they?
They do, yeah. They do. And just quite rightly though, because there are some bad ones out there. And, you know what I mean? There's an investor I know for Scotland bought one in Hartington Street, and I begged him throughout the time. I was like, please pull out this deal. He had it in his head he was going to Airbnb it and stuff like that, and then fucking hell, Airbnb. Wow. Wow.
And my management agent that I use, he came down from Scotland. I said, mate, you're wasting your journey going down here. And then he just said to the guys, like, you should sell this. So he bought it off a sourcer in Middlesbrough. I think they're in the process of suing him just now. So he was like, a great Airbnb, and then they're struggling to sell it. So you probably know who I'm on about as well.
Yeah. So the source said it would be a great Airbnb.
HMO stroke Airbnb.
To make a few grand to fuck someone over like that.
Aye, but the guy doesn't clearly. And then the last I saw it was on Pattinson's, and they paid 120 or 130 for it, and the highest bid in Pattinson's was like 60 grand. And the guy messaged me saying, "Look, can you try and help me sell this?" And I says, "I told you not to touch it, so I'm not going to put another investor in that position if I don't believe it's a good deal." But I don't know what the guy was playing at. I told him about 5 or 6 times throughout legals, like, pull out this deal. But I don't know if he's maybe thinking that's reverse psychology. But he's learnt the hard way, unfortunately.
Yeah, sounds like it as well. Yeah, it's a sticky one, that, to be fair. Well, where can people get in touch with you, Chris?
So I've got 2 Instagrams. I've got like a personal one, which I don't really post on, to be honest with you. And then I've got, like, that's Christopher Dale _property. My Facebook's Christopher Dale, and then my Instagram's Dale Ventures. That's the one I post on pretty much all the time. So when I started doing the property stuff, I used to be a holiday rep and I knew loads of folks. So I slowly rebranded that over time. It was the Dale Ventures that I mainly use, and then obviously I post more about property on my main page as well now. But I'm barely on that now. It's the business page. So
how can people get into your group as well?
They can. I think the link to the WhatsApp's actually on my profile. So I mean, you can just message us and ask to join, and then I'll send you the link. Like, there's no fees involved or anything like that. So, and then you can obviously, if you're on the fence, you can sit and see what deals have been coming, or if you want to book a call, you you can do that through the
And if people are interested in getting mentored, they can reach out to you, being an angel investor, everything.
Aye.
Yeah.
Pretty much the shop's open unless it's rent to rent, I'll say. Everything in between I'll do.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty much active all the time, so just messages and I tend to get back pretty quickly. That's another comment I've had as well. People like, do you use AI or something? I'm like, nah, it's me. Because my replies tend to be pretty quick. So
Yeah, top man. I mean, last question, who's the best sourcer in the Northeast?
apart from me, I like working with Ross Orrock because he's very diligent. He actually cares about the investors. So I like the fact that he's very thorough and he'll put a lot of kind of effort into making the investor know that they're aware of the full deal. I like that. So he's pretty easy to work with. I mean, when I was in America last month, we done something like 6 deals in a week when I was away as well. So he's got a bank active buyers. I like that he got a range of different deals as well because he started out doing like the HMO stuff, but he's more into the buy-to-let stuff now, which is what I enjoy doing because if you can do buy-to-let, you can do anything. I really like working with Ross. He's very easy to deal with. And then try to think who else there is in the North East that's pretty good to deal with. Obviously John Buck, done a lot of deals with him, done a couple yourself as well, which have been easy going. Pretty much anybody that's easy to work with, mate. I like them.
Some good names there.
Aye.
But just to clarify, you're saying you're the best, yeah?
I would say aye. I would say, I mean, it's hard. I mean, there's definitely no one buying like I am anyway. There's no one doing what I'm doing in the terms of they're buying. And then, like I said, that there's been some of my own deals that I've actually advertised that I've ended up buying. So I don't think there's anybody that does that out in the North East. There's a lot that pretend to buy, but you can pretty much go in company's house and they've got no charges, but they claim they've got a big portfolio, so they're either fully unencumbered or they're talking shit. But you know, with sourcers, a lot of them talk shit. So I definitely think I'm unique in the sense that no one's buying like I am for their own portfolio, and the volume as well. Like I've not got any staff members. A lot of folks seem to think I had a team and stuff. So I would say when you with the two factors, it's hard to argue against us.
Love it. Absolutely love it. Good man. Thanks for coming on board.
Cheers, mate. It's been good.